What if I told you the most important change in Lamar Jackson's career isn't a new contract, a new weapon, or even a new season, but a philosophy shift happening right now behind closed doors? Because for the first time in a long time, someone inside the building is saying the quiet part out loud. This offense is about to bend entirely around Lamar Jackson, not the other way around. That's not hype. That's not speculation. That's straight from Declan Doyle himself. And if you're a Ravens fan, or honestly just an NFL fan who's watched Lamar's roller coaster career, you need to stay with me here, because what Doyle just revealed could explain everything about where Lamar's career has been, and where it's about to go next. Because this isn't just about play calling. It's about identity. It's about trust. And it's about whether the Ravens finally learned from the mistakes that quietly cost them seasons. Declan Doyle didn't come out swinging with buzzwords or coach speak. He didn't dodge the question. He leaned straight into it. When he appeared on Ari Miriav's podcast, he laid out a philosophy that immediately raised eyebrows across the league. Shape the offense around the quarterback. Not the system. Not the coordinator's ego. Not what worked 5 years ago with someone else. The quarterback. And when that quarterback is Lamar Jackson, that statement carries weight. Doyle explained it plainly. You give the quarterback a lot early. You see what he can handle. You study the tape relentlessly. Then you narrow the offense down to what that player can execute at a championship level. Not what looks good on a whiteboard. Not what worked for a different quarterback in a different city. What works for him, that line right there. That's the part that should make Ravens fans sit up straight. Because for years, Lamar Jackson has lived in a strange football limbo. Too talented to fail outright. Too unique to fully fit into traditional systems. Every season felt like a negotiation between Lamar's instincts and the offense's limitations. Sometimes it worked brilliantly. Sometimes it looked forced. Sometimes it looked broken. And now, after an 8-9 season that ended with no playoffs, no momentum, and a lot of unanswered questions, the Ravens hit the reset button. Todd Monken is gone. 3 seasons. Mixed results. And now Monken is already moving on, taking over as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. That chapter is closed. And the timing matters, because Lamar's 2025 season wasn't just disappointing, it was chaotic. Injuries kept pulling him off the field. 4 games missed. A rhythm that never quite settled. Lamar finished with 2,549 passing yards and 21 touchdowns, numbers that don't tell the full story, but also don't scream MVP. Especially not for a quarterback with a $260 million contract hanging over every snap. The Ravens didn't just miss the playoffs. They looked like a team unsure of who they were. And when that happens, the blame never lands in just one place. It spreads. The quarterback gets questioned. The coordinator gets scrutinized. The front office feels the heat. That's the backdrop Declan Doyle is walking into. And here's where it gets fascinating. Doyle isn't coming in blind. He's not guessing. He's bringing experience from a very different situation that still carries massive relevance. His time in Chicago, working with Caleb Williams, shaped how he sees quarterback development. Even though Ben Johnson handled play-calling duties on the field, Doyle was deeply involved in the offensive structure and quarterback growth. That Bears team won the NFC North. Let that sink in. They weren't supposed to dominate. They weren't supposed to be ahead of schedule. And yet there they were in the playoffs before ultimately falling to the Rams in a divisional showdown. The loss hurt. But the process mattered. And Doyle learned something there that he's now applying to Lamar Jackson. Adaptability beats rigidity every single time. When Doyle talks about shaping the offense, he's not talking about simplifying it because the quarterback can't handle complexity. He's talking about optimizing it so complexity serves the quarterback, not suffocates him. That's a subtle but massive distinction that he even said it outright. Some concepts might have been good with a different quarterback. That doesn't mean they belong now. If a play can't be executed at a championship standard by your guy, it doesn't matter how clever it looks. You throw it out. For Lamar Jackson, that philosophy could be career-altering. Because Lamar has always been at his best when the offense feels like an extension of his mind. When decisions are fast. When reads are layered but intuitive. When movement isn't restricted but weaponized. Too often, Lamar has been asked to fit into offenses that wanted him to play like someone else. More stationary. More predictable. Less himself. And every time that happens, you don't just limit Lamar, you limit the entire team. The injuries last season only amplified that problem. When Lamar wasn't on the field, the Ravens looked lost. He didn't always look fully unleashed. That's not sustainable. Not for a franchise quarterback. Not for a locker room trying to believe that that's why Doyle's words matter more than any stat line. Constant evaluation. Constant tape study. Constant adjustment. That's what he emphasized. And that's what Lamar has needed for years. An offense that evolves with him, not one that demands he stop evolving. Now here's the curiosity gap Ravens fans should be asking themselves. Why did it take this long? Why did it take missing the playoffs, firing an offensive coordinator, and watching Lamar battle injuries and criticism for the organization to fully commit to this idea? And more importantly, will they actually follow through? Because saying the right things in February is easy. Doing the right things in September, when defenses adjust and pressure mounts, is something else entirely. Doyle's background gives him credibility. But Lamar Jackson is a different challenge than any quarterback he's worked with before. Lamar isn't just a passer you develop. He's a system you build. Every defensive coordinator knows it. Every opponent prepares for it. And if you don't fully lean into that reality, you end up stuck in between. That in-between space is where seasons die. The Ravens can't afford that anymore. Not with Lamar's contract. Not with the AFC getting deeper every year. Not with fans growing restless. And that's why this restructuring matters beyond X's and O's. It sends a message to the locker room. It tells Lamar, we see you. We trust you. We're not asking you to be someone else. That kind of trust can change how a quarterback plays, how he prepares, how he leads. But here's the flip side, and this is where the stakes get real. When you build the offense entirely around a quarterback, there are no more excuses. If this works, Lamar's legacy shifts. If it doesn't, the questions get louder. Was it the system? Or was it always something else? That tension is what makes this moment so compelling. Declan Doyle is betting his reputation on this philosophy. The Ravens are betting their future. And Lamar Jackson is standing at a crossroads that could define the rest of his career. So let me ask you this, and I want you to really think about it before you answer in the comments. Do you believe building an offense completely around Lamar Jackson is the right move? Or is it a gamble that could backfire if things go wrong again? Drop your take below. Because this decision isn't just about next season. It's about what kind of quarterback Lamar Jackson will be remembered as when it's all said and done. And there's another layer to this story that hasn't gotten nearly enough attention yet, and it might be the most important part of all. When Declan Doyle talks about giving the quarterback a lot initially, that's not just about play volume. That's about psychological ownership. It's about seeing how much responsibility Lamar Jackson wants, not just what he can handle physically, but mentally. Audibles, protections, tempo control, when to speed the game up and when to slow it down. That's quarterback empowerment, and for a player like Lamar, that can be the difference between reacting to defenses and dictating to them. Because make no mistake, Lamar Jackson is at his most dangerous when defenses are the ones guessing. Over the past few seasons, too many teams have been able to sit back and wait. They waited for predictable concepts. They waited for routes that took too long to develop. They waited for moments where Lamar had to hesitate instead of attack. And when you hesitate in the NFL, especially in the AFC, you get punished. Doyle's approach suggests that hesitation is exactly what he wants to eliminate. By constantly evaluating tape and asking one brutal question. Can we run this at a championship standard? He's forcing the offense to earn its place every single week. That means no comfort calls. No plays kept around just because they're familiar. Everything has to serve Lamar's strengths in real time. And that should excite Ravens fans, because Lamar's strengths have never been the issue. The real issue has always been alignment. Alignment between vision and execution. Alignment between coaching and talent. Alignment between what Lamar is asked to do and what he does best instinctively. When those things align, Lamar doesn't just win games, he bends defenses until they break. Think about the moments when Lamar looks unstoppable. It's not when he's boxed into a rigid structure. It's when the offense feels fluid. When play action flows naturally into movement. When reads feel layered instead of forced. That's the version of Lamar that won MVP. That's the version defenses fear. And that's the version Declan Doyle is quietly promising to bring back. But here's the final tension point that makes this entire situation fascinating. The Ravens are no longer sneaking up on anyone. The league knows Lamar. Defensive coordinators have years of film. They've built entire game plans around trying to contain him. So this offensive rebuild isn't just about leaning into Lamar. It's about staying one step ahead. That's where Doyle's adaptability will be tested the most. Can he evolve week to week? Can he counter the counters? Can he avoid falling into patterns that defenses can decode by November? Because building around Lamar is step one. Staying unpredictable with Lamar is step 2. And that's where championships are decided. This season won't just tell us whether Declan Doyle is the right man for the job. It will tell us whether the Ravens are finally ready to stop fighting Lamar Jackson's uniqueness and start fully embracing it. Because if they get this right, the conversation around Lamar changes fast. From fragile superstar to fully unleashed force. From questions about durability to discussions about legacy. But if they get it wrong, there's nowhere left to hide. So now I'll ask you one last thing, and I really want to hear your honest take in the comments. Do you believe this offensive reset is coming at the perfect time for Lamar Jackson? Or do you think the Ravens waited too long to make this commitment? Let's talk about it.